say, yes, we've heard all our lives, before we were born, a lot of the times, how bad Chicago can be, how bad Detroit can be. We're not saying that, you know, somehow Oakland is, at least I'm not saying that somehow Oakland is worse. And I
Mhm.
don't think that we can just automatically, well, because there are other places that are bad, we can't critique Oakland at all. I I feel like every place deserves some sort of critique because if people are saying things, then maybe there's something wrong.
Fresh
Well,
killer.
what up, tribe? We are here to have a very important conversation about the Bay Area, Oakland specifically. There's been a lot of things going on in the national news media. Perhaps you have seen some of the coverage, and I'm going to read the blurb, the write up that brought you all to this conversation. So it says, what up, tribe? Yo, what the hell is going on in my city? It seems as though the public perception is that the Bay Area in general and Oakland specifically is the worst place on the planet. In the past month alone, we were dissed by food critic and social media influencer Keith Lee when he cut his Bay Area tour short. In-N-Out Burger announced that they were shutting down their only Oakland location due to concerns over crime, which prompted a response from Stephen A. Smith. And just recently, Kaiser, the biggest private employer in Oakland, told their employees to stay inside for work and lunch. Let's step into the Zoom room and have a discussion about this. Do you feel unsafe in Oakland? Is the media exaggerating? Is it really that bad? How do we fix these issues? All right, so this is the ABT Town Hall meeting, and you all have shown up for it. So I have a question off the bat. I should say I have wonderful, talented, and highly educated and articulate people from Mexico City and the Bay Area and Washington, D.C. as well. And the first question I'm going to put on the table for you, wonderful folk, is are the negative comments that Oakland has been receiving in the national news media for the past month warranted? Is it accurate or is it an embellishment? What say you?
Okay. I live in Oakland. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not from Oakland, but I've spent some years in Oakland now, and I think I'm gonna temper myself a lot.
Don't.
But um I can understand why people think that Oakland is not a place to visit. I can
Mm-hmm.
understand that. If you are not from Oakland, if you are a tourist, if you are looking, if you have these ideas, just based on the links that I saw, and I was looking at some other things as well. But if you are from out of town, from out of state, people have these ideas about California, about the Bay Area. So, it's not really based in reality. And then you come to Oakland and all of that kind of gets dashed because there are a lot of things that will, for a tourist, it's going to be kind of a deterrent to what you feel will be your enjoyment of your location.
But you do
And
think the things, not to cut you off, but the things that are stated, you do think that they should be stated and people are well within their right to say those things.
I think people, I think people can say whatever they want to say, whether it's based in fact or reality is another thing. I
Mm.
think that trying to look at things in a more but it's hard to be objective. It's hard to be objective about places. I know that if you call 911 in Oakland, good luck, because I've done it.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
I know that it is definitely, I when I moved into my current apartment, I was here maybe a week. My car got broken into. I've seen a man, right in front of the BART station, sitting in his car, full penis out, masturbating, like in full view.
Mm.
And, you do have the rampant homelessness. You do have, all of this, the stuff that the city does not see fit to fix for
Mm.
whatever reason. I don't know all of the ins and outs of the political situation in Oakland. I know that it's lacking, we see that it's lacking, but I do know also that there are wonderful people.
Mhm.
I do know that there's a lot of stuff available to do if you know where to go, if you know people.
Okay.
I don't think that it's a city that is completely lost or not worth saving.
Okay, okay, for sure. Appreciate it. Respect, respect, respect. As we welcome Gathonia is now here. The Todd is here as well. I don't know if we got a chance to welcome Sonja, but Sonja is also in the building, the Zoom building. So the question on the table that Keisha responded to was, are the negative comments that Oakland has been receiving, Oakland and the Bay Area have been receiving in the national news media the past month, are they warranted? Is it accurate, or is it an embellishment? That's the question on the table right now. And I'm wondering, what does anyone else have a take on that?
My thing is
Go ahead.
putting things in perspective. So, I mean, the first question I would want to know is, where did Keisha move here from?
All
And the
right.
other question I would want to know is, just to have some context, is for the people who are here from DC. I would like to know, because y'all get a bad rap too. So
Yeah.
I just need to put it in perspective, because I don't personally believe that it's Oakland. I believe it's lots of places.
Okay.
And unless I have the numbers or a comparison,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's in its proper context that Oakland is getting slammed like this,
Mm.
because we've heard Chicago, Detroit, we've always heard stories about those other cities.
Right.
So for the folks who are here from those cities and know that, or maybe you don't know, that that's what we hear about your city, is
Mm-hmm.
kind of what is being said about our city. I was raised here,
Mm-hmm.
and I was raised during the time of the Black Panthers.
Okay.
And that in itself um, gives Oakland a particular vibration, that imprint. Oakland is the home of the Black Panthers before it spread across the country. So there's that, and I'll let someone else.
I appreciate it, and thank you so much for the commentary. I also appreciate Keisha jumping out that window first. Keisha, for the record, people want to know where you from. Not set tripping or anything like that, but people do want to know, where did you move to Oakland from? It was in the chat. It was stated out loud. People want to know.
Well, I am a veteran
Okay.
and I'm also a military brat. So I've lived all over. I've
Okay.
lived overseas. I've lived all over the country. Um, and so I do have some point of comparison. And, I think that we can say, yes, we've heard all our lives, before we were born, a lot of the times, how bad Chicago can be, how bad Detroit can be. We're not saying that, you know, somehow Oakland is, at least I'm not saying that somehow Oakland is worse. And I
Mhm.
don't think that we can just automatically, well, because there are other places that are bad, we can't critique Oakland at all. I I feel like every place deserves some sort of critique, because if people are saying things, then maybe there's something wrong.
Well, well, well. Well, well, well. Okay, okay. I see Todd. Todd has his hand up. What up, Todd? Thank you for coming. Also want to welcome Kia. Kia's in the building as well. Hey, Kia. But Todd, it's on you, sir. What say you?
What's going on, everybody?
What's up, brother? Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know if I missed this part in the beginning, but this was interesting to me. I've been following the Keith Lee situation. I'm originally from Chicago.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Yeah, born and raised, and
Reginald is also from Chicago, I should say. Reginald,
yo,
Chicago representative.
yo.
We got another Chi-Town native on the call. Go ahead.
However, I'm
Mhm.
from a generation. I'm a Gen Xer, so I come from a time in which, the '80s,
Ooh,
where when you're young and you don't see it, like, plus that's the beginning of hip
right.
hop.
Okay.
That's the birth of house music.
Okay.
So these things were happening, but it was also a time in which, like Keisha mentioned, you know where to go. You from that.
Mhm.
So you know it's there, but you have an affinity to protect. When you got cousins from Minnesota and they come like, ooh, ah, and it's like anything as us as people, you get used to how to move about, how to watch your surroundings, head on the swivel, especially. Then by the time the 90s got here, you're old enough to now be aware of what your parents were always telling you about. Don't go over 79th Street. Watch
Mhm.
out over there on the west side. Oh, you can't party over there. And it's like, man, we can't never do nothing. But then you get old enough to get a little hip to be like, oh yeah. So now you thinking, oh, this, you know, I came up in a time when you used to get jacked for your Jordans and your starter coats.
Okay. Yeah.
However,
Mhm.
that was just the time, but that stuff was happening in the 70s and the 80s. It was different things. Gangs started to really be a problem, but it was always something. So
Mhm.
then as I travel to other places, I like to ask people, give me the real scoop on where to go, not to go, blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. And then when people look at me strange, I'm like, I'm from Chicago. And they go, oh, do this, do that, don't do that. And then when people say, oh, you from Chicago, I'm going to visit. Do this, do that, don't go there.
Yeah.
That's every mid-major to major city. Which is
Okay.
why when this whole situation came up, I just wanted to chime in and hear and go, I wonder if I'm the only one that knows it ain't West Coast, East Coast stuff. It doesn't matter. Like human beings are going to be people.
Sure.
And you're gonna have those little pockets. You're gonna have areas where you should not. It's
Yeah.
best to ask a native. It's best to figure out what type of experience you want to have. In this case, he talking about bigging up mom and pop places.
Sure.
Guess where your good mom and pop places are?
In the hood for sure. Yeah. 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 Um, I listen. Okay. So, the young lady Keisha, she's been around. She said she was a military brat. Todd, you from Chicago. You moved to the Bay, and so Keith Lee moves all around the country, and he had never ever cut a tour short, and that resonated with me. I said, oh, Keith Lee said that there were reviews that were so bad he didn't feel comfortable sharing them. And people feel different ways about Keith Lee, and I know the intentions are very good, and I'm trying really hard to be objective. Full disclosure, I am from Oakland, born and raised as well. Actually, I was born in San Francisco, but raised in Oakland. I'm still here and all of that. But it it really made me think, okay, what is going on? There's crime all over the country. Uh, but what is this thing about the Bay where it seems like the Bay is getting a lot of negative coverage right now? And so, yeah, that's why we are all here. And so, Kia, you had your hand up before. Did you still want to make a comment, or
Yeah, I didn't know if I should have taken it down, just raise it real quick and put it down. But yes,
I saw you, so you're good.
I forgot most of what I was thinking. But I
Dang.
wonder, I wonder if now I lived in Oakland. It was a year. Today's the second. A year ago today, I moved to Oakland. Now I left 3 months later because I just had to get out of there. And I wonder if some of it is because there's Oakland is so central to a lot of different places, and a lot of places are very, very nice. And then you happen to wander into Oakland, and there is, and I'm not going to say the whole city, but there's a large gap. Either you live where it's terrible
Mm,
or it's really, really nice and, expensive. I have seen some places in between, but because I only lived there for 3 months, I guess maybe I don't have a dog in a fight and can't say too much, but visiting Oakland was very different from living there for me.
how so?
I was When I would go visit, I knew where I wanted to go. I go there, have a good time, eat, drink, be merry, come home. living there and not knowing anything about it, I moved right. The young lady said, "Oh well, the spot is in near Fruitvale," and I didn't know anything about that. So I just said, "Okay, whatever. I need a place to stay," and it was almost traumatizing. And I'm
Mm.
from Philly. Um,
Mm, mm, mm.
I mean, just
Tell me, okay.
Mhm.
What are some things that were traumatic to you in Oakland that you had not seen in Philly?
Well, there seemed to be more trash in the streets. Now, we'll say, I moved out of Philly when I was still in elementary school, so I was a little bit removed from that too. But it seemed that there was more trash, or in a more concentrated area, more homeless.
Mm,
Nothing bad ever happened. I never experienced a car break-in. No one ever bothered me, but it was just living. You go 2 blocks away, and they're just a huge homeless camp, people in the street, big piles of trash. When I'm leaving in the morning at 5 o'clock, I would go to the gym, and getting on the freeway, they were like literally tarps, and behind tarps were like, couples, family, little small families. And it was very traumatizing. That might be the wrong word, because really I felt for these people, but I'm like, why should anybody have to live like that?
mhm.
It was very concentrated in my experience.
Okay. Okay.
Mm.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Appreciate that. As we welcome Lynette to the call as well. Hey, Lynette, how you doing? Hey. All right. What's up, Todd?
Yeah, I'm glad that, kid, you said that. That's the other part I wanted to um sort of bring, sort of wrap around what I was saying about my experience in Chicago. As you said, growing up, having different perspectives per age, per your generation, all that type of stuff. But I've been to Philly a couple of times. Again, going back to the mid-major to major cities, Chicago could easily be Oakland, but
Mm.
it's larger.
Oh.
So when you funnel things down to the way something like a metropolis is set up, where, I mean, we got a lakefront, we got the west side, we got this side, we got the Chicagoland area with your little neighborhoods. So it's a little spread out, and it's, first of all, nobody ever been in Reginald, you know, it's a whole lot more segregated as a
Mhm.
major city than people really would like. Oh no, like it's such a major city. It is super segregated. So it's spread out. And once you get old enough and a little bit more wise enough how to move around, how to go enjoy yourself in certain spots when you're old enough, like, college, mid-20s and stuff, where you can get an experience here, there, and move around. But when you concentrate things down smaller, like Detroit,
Mhm.
like those places, like Milwaukee, where those places trying to be major,
Mhm.
that's when it sits on top of each other and you see so much of it everywhere.
Okay.
Chicago could easily be. It's kind of like what people talk about Atlanta in the same way. It's so small, it's around the corner, and ain't big enough where you can spread that stuff out.
I feel that. I feel that for sure. I see Alexandra. She has her hand raised. I'm gonna get right to Alexandra. Meanwhile, in the chat, Miss Davis from DC wants to know why the tour, I'm assuming you're talking about Keith Lee, why he canceled. So why did the tour get canceled in Oakland? She says, was there a particular incident that happened? So
Mm.
yeah, so Keith Lee, well, he got food sick. He said he was allergic to. I see Holly shaking her head. Hold on, hold on. So he is allergic to seafood, and apparently they didn't clean the grills properly. He got sick. He had to go to the hospital. He also said that he said the Bay Area is in survival mode right now. And he
Mm.
said that the Bay Area is not a place for tourists. This is Keith Lee. And he said that he had, I think, 4 or 5 reviews of restaurants that were, and I'm paraphrasing, but they were so bad that there was no like redeeming qualities. There was nothing positive about them. They were so bad that he didn't feel comfortable sharing them because he felt like it would just tear the restaurants down. And so he
Mm.
was like, the Bay, you guys are good. And, you guys are faithful to what you like. And he just like, I'm going to end this Bay Area tour early. Now, before he even came out here, people were in his DMs and he responded, if you will recall, and people were just like, yo, you sure you want to go there? You know what Bippin is and all that. So he responded to that before he even came out here. And so I'm thinking that they kind of got in his head. Keith Lee is from Detroit. I'm just saying, Keith Lee is from Detroit. And he said that the Bay Area is not a place for tourists right now. I said, okay, brother.
So I guess he would know.
Yeah.
I guess he would.
Shout out to Detroit. I like Detroit, but I'm just saying, my God. And then also, I got you, Alexander. Don't forget anything you're gonna say. I promise. I'm gonna get to you. When he said that, the president of JP Morgan and Chase, his name is Jamie Dimon, also jumped on a bandwagon and said, yeah, you know, San Francisco, the Bay, it's way worse than New York right now. I'm like, okay, bro. Okay. This seems like, listen, I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist. You know what I mean? And I have a saying, the only difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth is time. And so I'm like, okay, I just feel like y'all really hopping on the bait. There's something behind that. I think there's something behind it. More on that later, but I'm just like, anyway. All right. I want to hear Alexandra, and then Gathoni also has her hand up. What's up, Alexandra?
Yeah, this is such an interesting conversation, especially coming from somebody that's not in the US right now, and I haven't been in the US for a number of years. I moved to Oakland in 2012, right by the lake, rent control, and I left in 2018. So at that period of time, there was kind of like a renaissance going on. There was all kinds of gentrification. They were building condos up the wazoo. And I did come back for about 11 months, 2019, 2020 pandemic time. And I think things were still kind of okay at that point in time. But when I come back now, as somebody who, like, keep in mind, my perspective is I like Mexico, and then all of a sudden I go right into Oakland, I can really see a change, you know, because I was in it. I was right by the lake for many years. I walked to work, take BART to work later on. Now it seems like there's a lot of blight. Like a lot of people have moved out of the downtown area. I've noticed that I've heard more crime. My mom works right downtown on 12th, like 14th, right there, city center. And of course she gets the like, don't go outside for lunch. They don't go outside for lunch anymore. I mean, that's new. That is not how things were 5 years ago, 4 years ago. Like, we can admit that has gotten worse. And we need to, because Oakland is a gem. Oakland, there's no place like Oakland. There's no place where Black folks are so educated, proud, got all this flavor going on. So I think it's our responsibility to really be real with ourselves about the way things are really going down. And, you know, even when I was just there over the summer, I was there in July, and I could really feel it. Like, just walking downtown right quick, it was like, whoa, this is not what it was even a year ago. So I'm not, of course, I don't know all the different changes that have happened, but I can say, just as like a stark contrast, yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it for sure.
Okay, for sure. Appreciate that. And what's up, Gathoni?
Hello, nice to see everyone. Hi, Roger. Thank
Hi.
you. Yeah, so I'm an Oakland native. I grew up in Oakland with my family here, and even on my street growing up, my parents didn't really want us leaving the house. And so I think that's always been just something I've grown up with, like, oh, it's dangerous to go outside, or you just need to be careful. And so I don't know if anybody's already mentioned this, but I think part of what it has to do with is, like, the Bay Area and California is one of the states with the highest cost of living. And I think I just looked up on the Forbes website, but I think we're only beat by Massachusetts and Hawaii. And then New York is right after us. But I think
Mhm.
we have the highest cost of living.
Mhm.
And yes, I've definitely seen the amount of homelessness increase.
Mhm.
It seems like astronomically
Mhm.
in recent years. And what was I gonna say? Yeah, I think that has to do with it. People just can't afford to live here, and if you lack basic needs for survival, you're gonna
Mm.
need to do what you have to do to get what you need, like stealing or a lot of local businesses in my neighborhood.
Gathoni, I think that's your earpiece. They're really
Oh,
it's like every.
sorry, sorry.
Yeah.
A lot of local businesses near my home have closed down,
Mhm.
and they're located right near like underpasses, sort of. So there's a lot of people living like right next door, and so like the Target closed down, the Walgreens closed down, like a CVS closed down, and like some car dealerships. I always see glass on the street near, like in park where people park. Um, and I asked a friend who grew up in Florida in a non-major city, so it wasn't Miami, but it was some city where there's mostly retired people. But I was asking him if he's seen like this level of homelessness, like where he's from, and he said no, he's never seen that before. And I think the cost of living is not nearly as high in Florida as it is here. So I saw that on the news, Keith Lee said that, or that he left like a $2,400 tip at a Black-owned business
Mhm.
at a restaurant.
Mhm.
So I think it seems that he enjoyed that particular restaurant. I don't know if he went into detail about them, but I thought that was very kind.
It's not all bad. It's not all bad. There was also a taco truck, like a brother to make tacos in the West, and he hyped him up too. So, yeah, some people got some love from Keith Lee. I've enjoyed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What up, Trina? That is Trina Moore. Trina Moore, what's up, young lady? We want to hear your voice.
Hi, was Reginald next?
You're
No?
next. You're next.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, respectfully, born and raised in Oakland, have lived in Oakland most of my life. Attend church in Oakland, and newly since October working back in Oakland. Transferred about 3 months ago, and just driving by my new office, it was a culture shock. I was working in Hayward, and it's a culture shock. So I work for social services, and I am, if anybody's familiar, I'm by the DMV, by Eads in 98th Coliseum area. So it's a culture shock for me, and I'm born and raised there. When I go to work, I have to drive by or walk by, depending on where I park, because my my employer does not provide parking. So we are parking on the street unless you are in the exclusive where you can park in the parking lot. So when I'm driving to work and walking in my building, I see nothing but abandoned cars, stolen cars, trash. It's littered. And it's sad that this is what it's come to. So unfortunately, I am scared to even be in Oakland. It's bad. It's really bad. So to answer your question, Roger, no, I don't think it's an embellishment. Okay. I go to church on Sunday, and I get my black behind back in my car, and I go home. I'm fortunate enough, I work from home every other week. So the weeks that I work from home, I hate driving there. And now I'm just violating the law. I refuse to park on the street. So I park in the parking lot and just take my chances of taking getting a ticket. But my coworkers' cars have been stolen from off in front of our building. And clients have walked into our employee parking lot and broken into cars.
Mm.
Mm.
So it's not really an exaggeration. It's just reality. What it is, like I don't even want to stop. Like I got some places in Oakland that I like to eat, and you don't even want to stop because you don't know if you're gonna get carjacked. They don't know how to drive. They careless drive. It's just different. And I know, like, all these other cities, Detroit, Chicago, DC, and all of that experience some of this. But when you're born and raised here and you're still living in the area, it's sad to see. It's sad to be scared to visit where you were born and raised.
Let me
And
ask.
so, what Keith Lee said, yeah, I don't really blame. It's culture shock. It's culture shock. I live in San Leandro, so not far from Oakland, and my car's been attempted to be stolen twice from right in front of my house. So the Bay is just, we have a very bad rap, and unfortunately, it's just a new culture of this generation. Is new kids on the block, literally. And they don't respect people's lives. They don't respect people's property. They don't know how to go to work and earn the stuff that they want. So they just take it.
My goodness. Let me
and they don't care about the streets. So they're littered, and it's sad. People don't want to come to Oakland. People don't want to host events in Oakland. Like, even if you want to do an Airbnb and it's affordable, you got to wonder if your guests are even going to want to come.
Okay. I got just a few comments I want to read. I want to get to Reginald as well. But Trina, first let me ask you, coming up in Oakland, you say that it's worse than it's ever been right now.
I would say, absolutely. And I'm not going to blame, I see Kia's comment, I'm not going to blame it all on the newer generation, but I'm 52, so born in the 70s, and this is just a new breed right now that we're dealing with. You got the crack babies now. So it's just a new generation right now. So it's not all on them. And then you have to deal with the administration. Who's in charge? Do they really care? Because they're getting in their cars when they get off of work and they're driving out of Oakland. So they don't really care about the city.
Okay. I do want to get into how we got here as well. But first, Holly says in the chat, I'm experiencing a mixed bag of feelings about Oakland, Bay Area bashing and trashing. The blight is shocking, mostly concentrated in certain areas, which made me wonder if people/businesses are pushing trash and homeless to those areas. It seems too constructed. And I still believe that people not from the Bay Area come here with the impression that anything goes. So if that's the mindset, I can't do at my hometown or state, but I'll go to Cali, especially Oakland, to do whatever. Then there is the draw. What is the draw? What do you mean the draw? What's that, Holly?
Where people, that's the line. That's the defining factor right there.
Okay, for sure. Thank you for that. Kia says, I don't know if it's necessarily the newer generation. A lot of things seem to have been a long time in the making. And then S in the chat says, born and raised in Northern California, they call it the North Bay. There's no bay up there and not enough Black people. Been living in Oakland and in the Bay for over 20 years. In my neighborhood, folks have been mugged at gunpoint in daylight. I used to walk around, but not so much lately. I love it here, and there's so much hidden underneath. Okay, for sure. And then Alexandra says, as a nation, we're experiencing a social decline. So of course, it's more concentrated in areas that were already vulnerable. Okay, I do want to get to Reginald, but first, I want to push back, y'all. I want to push back. Yes, I do. And people can disagree with me all you want to, but I'm going to say in terms of Oakland, it's interesting that we define, or the media at least defines, what is unsafe by property, like property being damaged, carjacked, not carjacked. For the most part, people are talking about bipping, right? Breaking car windows and breaking into cars and things like that. And Oakland was once the murder capital of the country, right? In
Mm.
1992, I believe, right? And the United States period was a lot more dangerous in terms of homicide. And I think that it's peculiar for me that it seems like Oakland is getting more negative press now than when all these people were actually being murdered. And I also want to say that in terms of the police department, this is my conspiracy theory. I'm going to let it all out. My conspiracy theory is that OPD and police departments around the country are upset because of defund the police. They're upset because of all the protesters, people saying we don't need the police. And I think that they are intentionally taking a step back and letting these things happen. Hagenberger Road, that's where In-N-Out, they've been there for what, 15 years, and their whole this was Stephen A. Smith was talking about, their whole 75-year history, they've never left the location, and now they're leaving Oakland. Okay, so in that parking lot and in the Shell station, they're talking about people being robbed and bipped and things like that. It's one particular area. 2 days ago, even after I posted this event, Denny's announced they've been there for 54 years. Denny's was like, we're leaving due to crime. In this concentrated area, if the police cannot protect a parking lot, then why are you here? How can you not, you know where these things are happening. How can the police, in my Oakland, we would get harassed just for being in a group. 3-4 Black boys in a group, you are getting stopped, you are getting harassed. The police sometimes just pulled us over, just put the handcuffs on us before they asked us any questions. When the police want to shut something down, they shut it down. Santa Rita, San Quentin, all these prisons aren't full of Black men because Black men are allowed to get away with crimes. So how is it that in this concentrated space, in broad daylight, and it's being videotaped for months and months and months and months, people are just allowed to get away with this? I do not believe for a second that this is not something that is being orchestrated and something that is being permitted, and if not encouraged, to happen, because the police want more numbers. They want to sway people back on the side of the police and back in the blue and all of that. That's how I feel about, from the perspective of a person that was raised in this city. So that's me. I'm very interested to hear what people have to say about that. But first, we have Reginald. If you remember what you were going to say, it's now on you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing it up to, I think you would call it a silent strike. It's trying to say the police are doing a silent strike of a sort. And everyone else's comments has been useful. And I want to say up front, I've never been to Oakland. So it was very entertaining to see what people thought, especially people who had actually been born there. And then when people were talking, I just spent some time to look some things up, because you were mentioning cities. And so right now, DC is about 600K for a median home. Oakland is 825. Philly is 235. Detroit, which everyone is jumping on, is $85,000 for a median home. And they were in the 1950s at the highest income in the entire country. So you can see how things can change. Chicago is 322. Below Oakland is New York City at $800,000. So this is the thing that to me is like, are these people just talking out their ass? Because see, it's so bad, then why is it so expensive to live there? So people
They're trying to get certain people out and attract certain people in my opinion.
And so it's just like, I mean, it's just not enough. If people are they're out there doing all the damn they want, but it's just not enough to dissuade people from still going there. And I think it's two different things: crime versus homelessness. I think that Chicago and Detroit don't have it so much because the weather just kills people. It just kills. You can talk to the police; they'll tell you hundreds or thousands of homeless people every year are killed by the weather.
Wow!
So that's like an environmental thing that limits certain type of people from living in Chicago. Versus, the weather's a lot better in Oakland. And then if someone mentioned, well, Florida doesn't have this problem, well, maybe because Oakland is better supporting them than Miami. It might be a political difference that Florida might be more Republican and California's more Democrat, so there's better benefits. People aren't going to be that stupid. They'll learn about the differences. Like, oh, you got better support over here. They'll make the track. They just jump on a train or Amtrak. So I think it's a little bit more complicated. But I mean, at the end of the day, I just say, damn, why are you paying so much money if it's so bad to live there? And that's it.
Okay, for sure. Respect. Hey, Ronnie, what say you?
Hey, so someone brought up, when you go to a city, you find out where the pockets are, where you don't want to be, and I know that the projects are literally over there by the DMV in walking distance. So that's someplace you don't want to be, is walking distance from the projects to where you work at, or even where you live at. You don't want to be in walking distance of the projects. People are oppressed and they're depressed and, they're trying to make ends meet. So it's going to be high crime in those areas. Being a native of Oakland, I've never been robbed. I've never had a break-in. And with this car,
Bipping.
what is it called?
Bipping.
With this bipping, I don't think it's just Oakland. I think it's the new ripoff thing that's going on. And I need to hear the comparisons, because I know this isn't just happening in Oakland, so to compare to the other cities, I appreciated the Reginald, I guess it was, who's talking about how much the homes are in all of these different places. And yet, how come everyone is trying to come to the Bay Area, as expensive as it is? So to your conspiracy theory, I believe there is a hidden agenda, because, these average little home is $800,000 in the Bay Area, so what's really going on? And I think, to your conspiracy theory, that we're being hoodwinked and a lot of people are falling for it, because until you start looking at the other evidence of everybody's trying to get here, the weather is phenomenal. I'm gonna say this and be quiet. I go out every month, out in the evening. I'm at Yoshi's at least once a month.
I heard that.
Last weekend, I was at the Fox for Leela James. And I was also over in Berkeley for October London, and nothing has happened to me. So again, it's the pockets and knowing the pockets and moving intentionally to be safe and not, I mean, you can't help where your job is. You got to go to where your job is, but is that a place where you necessarily feel safe at? You don't want to live someplace you don't feel safe, and you certainly don't want to be working someplace where you don't feel safe, because you're going to have to implement some things to make yourself feel safe, but I think it is a pocket thing. I'm going to say this and be quiet. My girlfriend lives in Los Angeles, and the homelessness that's all up and down LA right now, she can't believe it. She's been in LA for 30 years. And she complains to me about, she went to visit someone and she didn't want to get out of her car because of the homeless. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, for sure. I do want to ask the question, how did we get to this place? How did the Bay Area get to this place? I think people have been speaking to that already. But first, Sonia in the chat says, born and raised, been bipped, robbed, and moved away, never moving back. She also says, when you were talking about going to Yoshi's, she says, where did you park? Because she wants to know, because
There's a parking garage literally attached to Yoshi's.
Okay, all right. Well, there you go. Sonja has had a different Oakland experience. Let's just say that, and all of our experiences are valid. Okay, for sure. Sonja says, I do visit only certain places for a short period of time. Okay, and Kia says everyone is not going to know the pockets. For sure. Mara, we have not heard your voice yet. What's good?
I was just gonna say, like, to piggyback off the conspiracy theory, I mean, when property is wanted, I think that, you know, it goes down. Obviously, it's not in this case, the property value is not going down, but it could be created like different issues or things like that to drive property value down. So then people move out and then eventually it goes back up. In this particular case, it's not happening with Oakland, right? Because the property value is sky high. But I don't know, you hear in DC all the time about carjackings, people being shot, like, you know, gunpoint. It seems like the Wild Wild West there. I live in Alexandria, like just about 8 miles from DC. But I don't know. I'm just listening to you all. I'm thinking, make sure I need to talk to a few people before I come, because we are supposed to be allowed to have free time downtown. I don't know. Maybe I'll stay in my hotel room though. I'm not sure. But I do want to eat good food. But okay. So anyway, I'll mute myself now. But
listen,
yeah.
come to the Bay, please. And I'm gonna say this, right? And I told you this because you emailed me. Just don't leave anything visible in your car ever. Don't do that. But other than that, it's okay to go to restaurants. It's okay to go outside. Like, go outside. You can hang out. I swear you can. Trina took herself off mute. What you got to say?
Just to piggyback on that, they with that Kaiser news report about not wanting employees to go outside. They also said the only hotel in Oakland that they are okaying people to stay, tourists, whoever, is the Claremont, which is Oakland, Berkeley Hills, and may not be affordable, but that's the only hotel.
Expensive. It's
yes,
ridiculous.
That's
the most ridiculous thing I've heard.
Yes. So.
My goodness.
Yeah.
I'm losing. Okay. All right. Look. Check this out. I see people with their hands up. Oh my God, it's lit up on this thing. But I do want to go in a slightly different direction, and I just want to put out there how did the Bay Area get to the point that we are in now? What are the causes of this? And I want to talk about this so we can talk about some solutions, gang. So what was the process? How did the Bay Area get to this place? Trina said before, it's worse than it's ever been. I will say that the homeless crisis is for certain unlike anything I've ever seen as a Bay Area native. And the bipping, for sure, bipping was not a thing 10 years ago. Now it's like, I guess, the best way to make money in the city. My God. So how did we get to this point? How did the city of Oakland get to this point, and the Bay Area in general? How do we get here? San Francisco used to be a very pristine, beautiful city, and that is not the reputation right now. So I want to know how did we get here? And I don't know, Gathoni, if you want to speak to that, or if you wanted to speak to something.
Okay. Yes, actually, as you were talking about your new question, I feel like in Oakland there's no community, and specifically where I live, I feel like there's kind of no Black community.
There's no community, Gathoni?
Yeah, no community.
Okay.
Like where I live, I feel that there's no like cohesive Black community. And there was a few years ago, I was getting off the bus at nighttime coming back from school, and someone followed me and attempted to mug me at gunpoint. And
how long ago was this? I'm sorry.
Oh, you can't hear me?
No, I can hear you. How you said somebody tried to mug you? I said, how long ago did you say this?
Oh, for some reason I can't hear you.
Oh,
Wait, I think I have to put my ear.
Wait, what did you say?
okay. So I heard you. You said that someone followed you home and tried to mug you. I said, how long ago did you say that that happened? How long?
Oh, well, this was actually, I think, 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
So it wasn't very recently. But I also have been like witnessing crime like in close proximity to me, like as I'm just walking, like outside in broad daylight. But anyway, I was talking about that incident because like I screamed at the top of my lungs, and like nobody came outside to see like what happened. And the guy just got scared, I guess, when I was screaming, and he ran off. So I was very lucky.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's no community. I feel like each man and each woman is for themselves.
Okay.
And oh, and I was gonna also add that I felt the safest when I'm in African countries, actually.
Okay.
Like I can just walk at nighttime and I feel so safe. Like I'm not worried about anybody assaulting me, or I feel the safest. Or as recently in Nairobi, Kenya. But that's where my mom's family's from. And I think also the difference there is like it's more of a community feeling, and like people are growing like food, for example, and like selling food on the side of the road, and they'll just have their produce growing openly, and like no one will steal anything.
Okay.
And there's mob justice out there. So I was traveling with a friend at nighttime, and somebody stole, and all of a sudden like there's a huge crowd and they're like beating on him. And I asked my friend, I was like, oh my goodness, and because I'd heard of it but I hadn't witnessed it. And I was saying, like, do people survive after that happens? And she was like, stealing is a crime. So that was her response. But there's just very much a sense of like community accountability for one another. Like people do not want you to mess up their business, so everybody kind of works together to keep the place safe and for people to want to come to support like businesses. And I think also with that, I mean, there's a lot of things to go into, but like everybody has like their own language, they're connected more with their family. People have a sense of shame. Even like people are homeless, like everybody knows who your family is or where to go. You have a home out there. And like here, the Black community, through slavery, like a lot of us don't know where we came from, or our families are maybe fragmented, or we're out on our own in some way. And anyway, I'll stop there.
No, I appreciate this. I definitely experienced that mob justice piece in South Africa. Someone was stealing and they beat his ass like with sticks. Just everybody came out. It was a group thing. It was a community bonding thing. Everybody came out and beat ass. It's like, oh, and the police came and watched. I said, oh, whoo, okay, for sure. All right, question on the table is, how did we get here? I think you said, I think you spoke to like slavery, fragmented families, there's no sense of community, says Gathoni. What say you, Keisha?
Well, I was raising my hand for something different, but in terms of what Gathoni is saying, I think I agree. I mean, if people can have any old thing happen outside, and I've been on the BART, and for instance, and people do their best to not look at what is happening around them. There's just too much that can be happening. This guy has his hand in his pants. This person is doing something weird over here. There's something constantly happening, and everybody is just trying to get home or get to work. Nobody wants to make eye contact. Nobody wants to look and see anything that's going on. So it's, that there's that sense of, like she's saying, everybody is kind of for themselves. because I think people just kind of want to feel safe, because there's so much that is constantly happening and can happen. You don't want to put yourself at risk. You don't know if this person is sane. You don't know, there was a man who was just lying on the ground in the parking lot next to my apartment one day, broad daylight. And I'm like, what is happening? So I get out of the car. I go over to him, I'm like, sir, are you okay? Because from where I'm from, I mentioned I'm a veteran, I'm a military brat, but my family is from the South. So, you just don't do certain things. Um, you don't overlook people like that. You take
Okay.
care of people. You speak to people.
Yeah.
You have this, I have this innate sense of community, but I've had to learn a sense of self-preservation because I live in this city, you
Mhm.
know. So I go over to this man, and eventually his people came out and got him, but I'm just like, what is this? You know what I mean? Like, if you see this happen so much, just people on the ground, you know, you don't know what's going on with them. You don't want to use an approach because who knows? The person could run in a scam. They turn over and they stick you with something, you never know. But I think that if, someone else mentioned in the chat, it's like this in large cities, and yeah. And I also want to get back to, I think maybe Reginald was saying this, or someone was saying this. I have so many thoughts and I can't quite, I'm trying to get them all out at once, but there are too many things happening for us to talk about one thing. You're saying, you feel like there are these conspiracies that are happening. I think that that is true. I think that there are systemic things happening. I think that we are still seeing the effects of the pandemic with all of the businesses that closed down, all of the things that have, happened in the wake of the pandemic. I think that, the police are upset. I think that the government, the local government is not doing a good job. I think there are so many different moving pieces in how we got here that we can't just say, oh, well, what about Chicago, or what about Detroit, or what about Philly? It's like, okay, these are all large cities with large Black populations. So already when you talk about a large city, people have an idea. But when they have large Black populations, then there is this added thing that people, outsiders, tend to do. They tend to add this extra layer to it of danger, of, this big bad thing, this big bad city. And so I think Oakland suffers from that as well. Because if you go to San Francisco, I've been to Berkeley. Berkeley has homelessness too. They've had these encampments. They swept a lot of them away, I've noticed. San Francisco is the same thing. It doesn't have the Black population that it used to have, though. But, I've said a lot of things. I know other people have their hand up, but that's that's some of the thoughts going on right now.
Thank you, Keisha. And before I get to Lynette, Gathoni says, in my experience, Black people in other states, in particular in the South and East Coast, we say hi to one another. We are nicer to one another. Here in Oakland, I feel that Black people, we are mean in comparison. It's hit or miss. We don't look up to greet one another. My goodness, that's what Gathoni says. All right, how do we get to this point? And then after that, I'm going to ask for solutions. I'm going to honor everybody's time and end the call. So what's up, Lynette?
Well, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Lynette.
I don't know where to begin. I've been trying to keep up with here, and I hope I don't get confused here with trying to keep with the thoughts here. When you mentioned, I'm a homegrown native. I wasn't born in Oakland. I was born in Berkeley.
Okay.
And I've lived here most of my life. I'd move away and I'd come back. I'd always boomerang back here to the Bay Area. Some years ago, a lot of people started the migration from San Francisco to the East Bay because they got to where they couldn't stand up under the cost of living there. And they started coming over here, and the prices started driving the prices up. And a few of my friends said, you better look into buying. They're coming over here and they're buying it all up. And what's interesting to me is once upon a time, people did not want to live near this person or they want to live near that, that's, so now you have people in Oakland, and it's puzzling to me. I've listening to everyone, and I have to agree with it. With all the crime in Oakland, how the heck can it be so expensive? But again, people are coming. They're still coming. They're coming. I do think there is something going on. We haven't seen the end result of it yet. I do agree and believe that it's not just one thing, it's several things going on that's driving this, but Oakland has changed so much. And to see people leaving, to see the homelessness that I see, and once upon a time, there was a sense of community, but it's not there anymore. The majority of the people that have come here to the Bay Area, most of the people, African Americans, migrated from the South, back from, goodness, 40s, 50s, up to the 1970s. So they brought their community with them, and it's changed. As it's been mentioned, people don't want to work. Well, I hate to say young, I'm not going to just say young people don't want to work. I was in the drugstore one day, and I guess because no one stops them, there was an elderly man that was shoplifting, and he did a grab. Well, he couldn't run. He did the best he could. He was moving as fast as he could. I haven't seen anything like that. I wasn't sure what was going on in the.
Did he get away?
Yeah, he got away. Well, no one stopped him. I mean, I could have even caught him, but he just, I said, "What is he doing?" And he left with the shopping basket and everything. And the
Well, it's not a generational thing. No, I'm just playing. Go ahead.
Could be. I don't know. So, it's changed. It doesn't seem to be safe. I've made changes to my lifestyle. The cost of living is pushing people out in the street. That's a lot of it. That's a portion of it. I mean, it's sad that there are families, because if you get between jobs, if you don't have enough money saved to find another job before it runs out, and if you have housing that's, reasonable, and once you're out, it's hard to get back in. If you move from the Bay Area, it may be hard to come back because of the cost of living. I don't know. It's sad. I was in the store, and I won't continue. I'm done. I was in the store, and this was a couple of Fridays in a row. I was in the in the drugstore, pick up some things, prescriptions, so forth. And 2 Fridays in a row, there was shoplifting. There was, just pretty bad things going on. And one of them, they were some kids. One of them approached me, and I guess he was going to go for my purse. And he just caught me in a bad mood that day.
Uh-oh, what happened?
Yeah. So, I mean, I saw him, I thought, boy, what do you think you're doing? And so I guess he was going to take my purse. And something like my mom said, whatever is in must come out. And it came out that day. So he went the other way.
Oh, you don't want to incriminate yourself. I see what's going on, but he got the point. He got the point.
Well, I'll just say this I did say, boy, if you don't get away from me, and that's all I'm going to say.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm glad. I'm sorry that happened to you, but I'm glad that he got the point. You got the point across to him.
He did. Yeah. But I mean, I wouldn't go around trying to just challenge anyone that happened. It's just that day. So
For sure.
I am hoping that there are solutions. I've been in the Bay Area a long time, and I don't see me retiring here. I see me having to live. I've already been bumped out the market to buy. So I don't know.
Okay.
But anyway, thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Well, thank you for speaking. Appreciate that testimony. And I do want to get into solutions right now. We've laid out all of the problems, things going on with the Bay Area. I want to get to solutions. How do we go about rectifying these issues? But first, in the chat, Todd says, I have certainly greeted the lone 6 Black folk here in San Jose. So there you go. Todd speaking to the entire Black population in San Jose. Thank you for doing your part in building community here. And what's up, Todd? You also have your hand up, sir. What do we do? How do we solve some of these very pressing issues in the Bay?
When it comes to human behavior and how we move around, man, I don't know as far as solutions, but speaking to the prior question real quick, I remember again, I took an urban development class at Chicago State. This was around late 90s, right at the beginning of all of the housing projects being torn down. And my professor was on this grand jury dealing with what do we do with these families. So I'm just here to say that class was the most, and I took it just to keep my GPA up, you know, whatever. My undergrad was in African American Studies. And to hear this white dude talk about, that was a real indicator and an eye-opening experience for me to know what it's like to have minimal control over your life, because he was part of the grand jury sitting in front of the political movers and shakers of the surrounding suburbs. My parents, we had just moved out to the suburbs in 92, right outside of Chicago, the south suburbs. And in 2 years, we went from one of 8 families to there was only one white family living across the street from us. In years, so 92 to 94. And by 98, this guy was on the grand jury where all these housing projects were coming down, and these families, Black, were moving out to the suburbs, and the people representing these suburbs who with enough political power and all the things that come with power were like, if you had that cachet, like Lansing, Illinois, was like, we'll take 5 families, but we get to screen them. Harvey and Riverdale and places like that with tons of dilapidated homes. They were much larger and not a lot of political power. You didn't have that cachet to say that. You finna take all 50 of these families. Ain't nothing you can do about it. And I'm in education. So at that time, 99, 2000, when I started working in these schools, you could see right there what a community looks like if you are not picking up on what's coming down the pike.
Okay.
So solution-based, get ahead of it. I'm just gonna talk real because we being real here.
Okay.
Get ahead of it.
Yeah.
I hate saying this term about how not to join that wave of not being able to handle your situation. I remember a couple of my cousins got into real estate about 3 years too late, grabbing up, little 2 flats and stuff like that out in the suburbs. Problem is, when that gentrification happened and more people wanted to get back to those areas with the good zip codes out in Chicago, that at one point in the 80s, I would never go to the 30s.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, I don't even know where I'm at. And I think Chris Rock cracked a joke about it, which was art imitating life. You know where you are at noon if there are more white women jogging with leggings going to Whole Foods with poodles versus where a bunch of Black men are just walking around back and forth to the liquor store. I hate to put it that way, but
okay.
As far as solutions, there's way too many things that in domino effect and layers to just say like this we need to do, because the political power is where it's going to start.
Okay, for sure. Appreciate that. So what I'm hearing from Todd is know what's coming down the pike. If people feel like why is the property value so high? If it's so dangerous, then if you do have property in Oakland, I would say don't sell it. Don't sell it. So there's that. Also know where you are in and around town. Todd also said, I'm only visiting Oakland with Lynette from now on. he says in the chat. And Keisha Jones said, maybe the older man was stealing out of necessity. Also, we live in a very litigious society. If someone is stealing, you cannot accost them, because if something happens to them, they can sue you for bodily harm, plus property is not worth your life or physical safety. A lot of businesses have insurance that covers this type of theft, okay? Cool. So bam, and then in terms of a solution also, the good person, Kia says, maybe just starting these types of conversations. Okay, for sure. All right. So solutions. Just take a few more solutions. What's up, Reginald? What you got, man?
Yeah, I'm gonna get on the solutions. Thanks everyone who mentioned my comment before about that damn high property values you got in Oakland. So, and I'm gonna post something else in the chat menu. And the thing is, solutions is there a problem? Because when I post this and I have the source in there, Oakland, you can talk about crime and maybe the police on a strike, but you can't hide dead bodies usually. People
Right.
don't report a dead body or someone's been killed. So I go to a source that maybe you can look at it, maybe it could be updated. Oakland doesn't have a high crime rate in terms of murder in the country.
It's just property, yeah.
And then so in terms of Detroit is number 4. That makes more sense to me. And St. Louis is number 1, oddly enough. Chicago's number 10, and Oakland's around Washington, D.C. So I don't know, it's maybe just a perception that people feel that it's personally, if I got attacked, I don't care if I got insurance or not. I'm going to feel that it's the wrong thing. So I don't believe in the insurance, like, oh, you have medical insurance, so that means you can beat me up. No. So I don't believe you can beat me up because I have medical insurance. I don't believe I have renter's insurance. Does that mean you can steal my stuff? No. I don't think you can steal my stuff just because I have renter's insurance. So a business has insurance doesn't justify in any way to me stealing its property. That's my 2 cents.
Appreciate those 2 pennies, brother man. And then we have Alexandra will be the last commenter. What's up, Alexandra? What say you in regard to solutions?
Yeah, I think it's I have kind of an interesting perspective or a different perspective on it. I know there's been a lot of corruption in Oakland City government over the past, who knows how long, 10 years, who knows, but it seems like it's gotten worse. And as somebody who lives in a very corrupt country now, I mean, Mexico's extremely corrupt. You see how things get worse and how solutions are kind of just like, they're created, but they're kind of thrown off a cliff, right? I think that tends to happen, and it's been happening in Oakland too, because corruption just kind of eats everything. Like Oakland PD, you talked about Oakland PD, Roger. It's the same thing. So I wonder if we focus on getting the corruption down to a minimal level, maybe to where it used to be in the past, where it was manageable, where people could just live their life, then it could at least, people feel safer again. The solutions will work. Because right now, I think like the more corruption that there is, the less things work, because it just gets absorbed into this kind of like a dirty sponge of, things being siphoned off, no solutions, this and that. So that's my perspective on it. I think that could be helpful.
Much love. Got to do something about the corruption. And we're gonna close this thing down. But first, Lynette, could you give us something real quick? I am afraid to deny you. I don't know, you might be having one of those days, so I'm gonna actually let you have the last comment. I'm just teasing. What's up, Lynette? Go ahead.
Well, I work downtown Oakland. I think they're called the ambassadors, and they were patrolling around downtown Oakland. I have not seen them.
Okay.
For a while, they were on their bikes patrolling around downtown Oakland, and that was good for the businesses. And also, we had a lot of trouble with graffiti. And Oakland had another department that maybe that was part of the ambassadors. They'd come, if you left your paint with them, they'd come and paint, the graffiti. You could, if they didn't already get it before you came in, you could call them and they'd come within 24 hours or so and paint it. And I don't see that anymore. We're back to painting it ourselves now.
Okay, all right.
But I think if that was brought back, that would help. Perhaps strengthening neighborhood watches, that may help too.
Okay,
It's
okay.
just some thoughts there. I mean, and I think there needs to be some pressure put on, you know, on the powers that be as well to, you know, step it up.
Okay. For sure. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate everyone joining the call, especially my East Coast people who stayed up late. Oh my goodness. And then all my Oakland natives, thank you for joining the call and chiming in and making this a real conversation. Please continue this in your families, at your job, with your local political leader, with the people in your community, so we can make the change that we need to, so we can bring Oakland back to the jewel that we know that it is. So thank you all so much. That concludes our discussion. Peace, tribe, and another one. That's